Okay, I'm back now. Well, remember this morning we had this and it was a part of a bigger, and I cut it off. So now it looks like this, right? And I have no idea what we're going to do yet. So let's proceed together. I'll see what the potentials are. Oh, I know it was really big, hard to carry. Well, if somebody was younger, it was no big deal. In fact, I could have carried it 10, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but it's getting really hard. And so I decided, since I broke the top, what can I do with this? And then I did our typical split it in two. So am I going to be content with having it split in two? Oh, look at this. This is a PVC pipe. I was using it as a stake, I think, well, this, if you remember, used to be a Niwaki Seijuen Elm, and it looked like nobody was interested, so I made 2 air layerings off of this, and those are still proceeding nicely. This bottom piece, I was going to show you how we should shape it, except I grabbed the top and it snapped off. Well, that's what happens with Seijuen elms. I tried to wire one branch and it snapped. I couldn't believe it happened to me, so I tried it again, and that one snapped. So I came to the conclusion that this Chinese elm, this Seijuen elm, is brittle. So those of you that like to wire, be careful when you're trying to wire a branch. They oftentimes snap. So, well, it's a tangled mess. So what should I do? Well, how about cutting it in another half or in 3 pieces? What could possibly go wrong? Hey, those of you that really like tools like me, you wonder why I have so many of these reciprocating saws, right? Well, one, I have different blades. One that cuts the soil, and then others have a cleaner cut. But also, they have different strokes. The one on the left has short strokes, so when I have to cut a little more detail, I use that. And then the one furthest to the right has the longest stroke. So when you want to get something done, that's the one you use. Okay, I used the short stroke one to cut this part off. Now I'm going to kind of round off the edges so that it looks a little bit more natural than the straight cuts. Okay, I'll get this one next. And this one. So I'll go ahead and do all these, and I'll get them potted up and show it to you. One thing I could say, it's a very messy job. Before I conclude the second part of this Seijuen project, I want to get started on the third. Well, what we have in here are all the discards, right? These roots that got cut off. Well, I think in the past we talked about root cuttings. So I'm going to save these. I'm not sure about these, but we'll save it before I clean up. And then we'll have the new chapter on, well, what do we call this chapter anyway? Making bonsai from discarded. Actually, this is just going to be root cuttings. See, all these things has potential. Save it. This this tree was a root cutting, not intentional. It's a natural root cutting, because what happened was I had a potted tree. I think it was one of the bonsai that got kind of out of hand and sent out the roots into the ground. And so it started to grow. So I harvested a bunch out of there, and we made that big new aki. But it wasn't selling, so I made 3 air layerings off of it. And this first part of this program was the bottom of the 4, because we took 3 off the top. Now I'm just saving this so we could get started. If I put this out there like this, then I bet a whole bunch of stuff will come out. But I'm saving this. Okay, I got all 3 of them planted. They should have a good chance of success. There was plenty of root hair. I cut off a lot of the bigger roots, but they were not necessary because there was plenty of root hair. The only thing is, what can we make from these? Because, well, basically it was cut into 3 chunks that was cut off of a big tree. So anyway, what's going to happen is the next year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, just let it grow. And then nature will tell us what needs to go next. Because at this point, it's just an ugly stump that was cut into 3 pieces. But I have high hopes. And it could be that I fail. But you could see that it could be interesting. So this is the first of the 3. Here's another one. Well, remember, it's buried quite deep, right? Because remember, you were able to see a lot of big cuts. Well, one, I did a slight tilt, and I actually buried it so that there's very little of that big cut visible. Hopefully that'll work out. A lot of this is experimental, but I know that because these are a type of elm, this is a Seijuen elm, everything about it is hardy. Only thing is it's brittle, and that's what got this whole project started. As I was getting to set up for the next day's video, I grabbed the top apex and it snapped off. So anyway, this is another part of the 3. This one just looked like a little stump. But you can see that most of the cut is now underground, and probably will reroot close to it. So this will probably be more like a clump style. But you know, at this point, you don't even want to second guess. Let nature take its course, let it grow. So the next couple of years, just let it grow, and then hopefully nature will tell us what we need to do next. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye for now for this chapter. It's not to say that this is the final chapter for this project. I got the next one. So I'll see you again real soon in another chapter. So this was the cut off part of the trunk that was cut into 3 more pieces.